Alright guys, thanks for sticking around for the end of the day webinar today. It is July 27th, 2016. Yeah, so it looks like things are starting to slow down a little bit in the small cap market now that these crazy runners like OPTT, Cone, all these nutty SPU, they're all kind of starting to finally come back down to earth. Man, there were some really, really good shorting opportunities in these stocks. Unfortunately, as you know, with ETC clearing, we don't have, or I don't have access to many of these, but a lot of you guys that are already using the TradeZero platform, you're able to short these, and I'm sure some of you guys have made some good profits on the backside of these moves. Since I can't trade the short, on the short side of Cone, SPU, I've been just focusing on what I can play, which, so today the big one was MDGS. It's kind of actually a really interesting day because, well, as you guys know, I've been on a pretty hot streak lately. Today was, just looking at the numbers today, to me it's kind of exceptional because I had 4 losers earlier and turned them all into winners. And the day, first of all, I'm just looking over some numbers for July, and I just reached around 25,000 in gross profits for July. So definitely some fees in there, a little over $5,000 in trading fees, but still that's a really good month so far. Today I thought for sure that streak was going to come to an end because with MDGS, I got kind of tricked here. First of all, I got some momentum off the morning push. There was a nice dip, and for once I actually went ahead and just jumped in on this dip through 90. And I took some good size, and I pushed some shares out towards high a day for almost a $400 gain to start the day on MDGS. And then on the dip, I really wanted to play it like I thought it was going to curl back around for a high a day break. Because I'll tell you why I thought that. Because we have a 2.64 million float, and it was trading on like 4 or 5 million shares, so it was kind of like a classic float rotation type of play. And anyways, long story short, I sized in a little bit too much on the 3 over under, and then it washed me out, and I lost the entire morning profit of 400 plus an additional 300, so it was like a $700 loss. I took a little too much size, and I just couldn't get out in time, which is rare for me. I got a little bit too aggressive on that trade, which tends to happen after you have a huge run. You kind of naturally want to step things up and trade a little more size, but I kind of got caught there, and then it put me in the red for the morning. And so then I kind of just slowed it down, and I realized at this point on the lower high that this had to be a short play, so I jumped in without really hesitating too much on the short side, and that's where I made the majority of this 1,400 profit. It was just all on this giant wash, and the washes were so nice. I mean, you can see that on this 1 minute chart, we went from 250 to 220 in 2 minutes, and I was scaling back in on bounces, and I kept it fairly low risk all the way down. That was a really good trade. The second trade that I took was a long, and there's 2 long trades I took. One was on the higher lows. After I covered, I put in some higher lows, and we broke through 50 EMA. I played a long back through there, and then I played a long again over here through this cup and handle breakout through 240. Right there. And it unfortunately didn't follow through, and again, I was really sized in for this. I was playing for this for a big move. I was thinking if it reclaims VWAP, we're going to see a higher low and rip. This thing, it was hard to predict all day. I had a lot of really good reads on it, and as you guys know, a lot of the reads were price action and tape based, meaning that there's stuff that I'm seeing in the chart, but lately on a lot of these stocks, the chart has been one thing, but what I've been actually reading live on the tape in level 2 has been some very, very valuable information, some stuff that we can really use to figure out, what's going on inside the stock. So where are people buying, where are people selling, where are the hidden buyers, where are the hidden sellers. I've been able to really decipher these trades, and by, sharing them with you guys, by talking about it over the live stream, it helps everyone better understand what they're missing between the lines, because for the first few years of your trading, you don't really understand what's going on so much in here in terms of the actual tape and trying to read it. It's something that just takes years of experience to develop, but I think that a lot of you guys, like Christian for example, just a couple months of hanging out with us, he's starting to make great tape reads already. So it's really just a matter of practicing, putting your time in front of the screens, and and just figuring it out, and listening to someone that does know how to tape read do it live can really help as well. So I hope you guys have been enjoying the commentary and some of these tape reads that have helped kind of, honestly, like there's been times where the chart looks like it should be a long and then the tape is just telling me, no, this is a short. And, the reason I was kind of upset with myself this morning, despite having a really good day, it should have been a much better day, and I'll tell you why. Because I saw in the tape, there was some real heaviness in the tape up here between 305 and 310, and I knew that I should have sized down. In fact, my intuition, my gut was telling me to turn around and short there, but I got really stubborn and I was like, no, the float's 2.5 million, it's traded 5, it's gonna rotate the float, we're gonna rip. And I ignored my intuition, I ignored my gut, I held the position, and it costed me like a $600 or $700 loss in the morning. So I wanted to mention that there is something to be said about this. When you've been doing something for a really long time, for example, driving a car, you know how you don't have to so much think about everything you're doing anymore? Like when you're driving a car, after having a license for 10 years, you're not thinking about every turn you make. You're not thinking about every, shift you make or clutch press. You really are just in autopilot mode, right? You know what the right thing to do is because you've developed this skill that you can really, it's a natural habit now to exercise that skill of driving a car, and you don't really have to put a lot of brain power or thought process into doing it. It's just natural. Eventually, at some point, trading doesn't necessarily become that easy, but there definitely becomes like a natural, built-in, intuitive sort of tick that like hits you, and you know what the right thing to do is. And today, for the first time this month, I totally ignored that price action cue. I should have sold my position. I could have still taken a gain on it when I noticed the tape was heavy. And then I could have turned around and shorted it and probably made more close to $2,000 or more on the short side. So at the end of the day, I really sabotaged myself by not listening to my gut, by not going with my initial gut instinct, which is usually right, and just ignoring that, So, but it was a good thing because, it reminded me. It kind of put me in check today, and then honestly, I had to fight back, and it was a tough fight back. Usually when I end up red on the morning, I end up having to fight really hard, and then I end up incurring a ton of trading fees. Not always, but a lot of the time, like when you're kind of fighting back, you're kind of just scrapping with, taking 100 here and there, 200, and you're kind of just. I was in and out quite a bit today of a few of these other stocks, but. Every good streak comes to an end eventually, and I've already decided that when this one does come to an end, it's not going to come to a screeching halt. I'm going to be limiting my loss. Like when this streak comes to an end, it might be like a $400 or $500 losing day. I'm not going to blow this streak out on a $3,000 loss. I'm just not going to do it. We talked about in the previous webinar about risk management. How I properly manage on each trade, scaling in, risking only $100 or $200 max per starter position, adding to my winners. Nothing's going to change in that term. I'm really going to just continue doing that because this is what's working well for me in 2016 so far. So I'm just going to continue doing that. Eventually, this streak is going to come to an end. The market's going to adjust. But, we've talked a lot before. We have a lot of webinars on the website discussing, the market changes and how to adapt, and it seems that I've been really adapting quickly to all the different market changes. So it was like a month and a half ago or a month ago we had MGT and all these massive runners, CLRB, really took advantage of that action, and then within 2 days after all that, the market completely slowed down. I backed off my size. I completely just adjusted with the market right away. Went right back down to just making $200 to $600 a day, $300 here, $200 there, and then as soon as the market ramped back up again with OPTT, Cone, all these stocks in the last 2 weeks, I just ramped right back up with it, sized back up. And one thing that you'll notice, if you look back through my results, is that all I really care about in trading is consistency. The biggest thing to me is just being able to pull a paycheck every day out of the market. So, for me, I'd rather make, if I can make like $500 to $1,500, $2,000 in a day and do that consistently, to me, that's way more valuable than just coming in one day, putting it all on the line, throwing down a big trade, and making like $20,000-$30,000. That's one thing that you'll never see me do, because it's just, it's not worth the risk. To me, the risk management is such a big part of longevity in trading, and after so many years of doing it, you just realize that, you see stuff like, for example, KBIO, where, that incident where it went from like $2 and then the Shrekley buyout and it went like over $40. Well, people that have been trading for 10, 15 years, if you're not careful, if you just become complacent and you just, got on the wrong side of that trade, I mean, you could have lost your entire account, your entire life. Like, there's too much at stake to really be making like, wild trades, in my opinion, like that. I'm perfectly happy with, consistent trading, and, when I'm trading consistently and trading the way that I am, it allows me to give you guys the full value on the stream as well. Because if I'm trading crazy size, I'm going to be more focused. I'm going to be super focused on my own trades, and there's going to be a lot of stress on my end. So this way, I'm trading fairly stress-free. I hate to say that, I don't want to say that it's easy, but lately this month has been it's been really stress-free. I haven't got myself jammed up, knock on wood, in any real bad situations. All of my risk management and entries have been on point for the most part. There's been very few challenges. It's really just been smooth sailing and consistent gains throughout the entire month. So eventually this streak will come to an end. The market will adjust, at which point I will adjust with it. We're all going to adjust back to, it's just going to take there's probably going to be a slow week or two in August, and we'll just sort of pull it back, do a little more, patient. It's going to be slower, so probably be a little more patience and just, looking for just the proper A+ setups. And but I mean, it's been almost easy. There's been so many this month that, as long as you're patient and as long as you weren't shorting the front side of these moves, I mean, for someone like me who's mainly a short bias trader, I've made a lot on the long side. I mean, a lot, especially with those runners like OPTT and Cone and stuff like that. JB's really opened my eyes up to, more of the long side. So we've been, I've been pretty much 50-50 on both sides. But you guys know my strategy when it comes to, when I think it's safe to short, when I think you should be looking for longs. I think we should just stick with that, and just stick with, the trading rules that we live by and use every single day. Other than that, guys, I really hope you're enjoying the live stream. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from you guys. A lot of people have been improving and, messaging me and saying, hey, thanks so much. I'm understanding the tape reading better. I'm actually, noticing things that I wasn't able to notice before. And it's really good to hear. It's really good to hear that a lot of you guys are here with, realistic expectations. You really want to learn this business properly, and you're in the right place to do it, and you can do it cheap here. So, and we enjoy having you. So, let's just keep up the good work going forward and finish the month strong. I don't really have too much else to say other than that. Yesterday's webinar is up on the website. It's actually a really good one, and I hope you guys all get a chance to take a look at it. It involves trade planning, so it talks about my scale-in method, how and where I buy dips, how I maximize the winners, and cutting the losers quick, which I mentioned yesterday. If you go back through my P&L over the last month, pretty much all of my losses are under $100. There's a few that are like maybe close to 200, but for the most part, all the losers are small and the winners are big. And I think it's a key thing to consider in terms of like the risk management side, and the scaling in, scaling out is how I kind of stay safe and make sure I don't really get smoked in any one trade like that. So for those of you guys who haven't had a chance to check it out, the webinar is called Risk Management Trade Planning. I put it in this section right here, and it's again right there. So check that out tonight when you get a chance. I'm sure you'll find it helpful, and I'm sure you'll enjoy the content. And if you guys have any questions at all whatsoever, anything else that I can do for you, just let me know. Always here to help. Message me over lunch, preferably, so I can cover it in the end of day webinar. Email, anytime. I'm here to help. Guys, let's keep up the good work. I hope you're enjoying the new scanner. I certainly am. It's been great for being able to pick out some daily gainers, find out what's coming up. This has been a great tool for us, actually. I'm really enjoying the new scanner. I hope you are too. Guys, have a great night. We will see you first thing tomorrow morning. Cheers.